How does Liz Truss suggest we hold these companies to account if there's not going to be a windfall tax? What other lever do you have?
Well, there already is a windfall tax in place, and energy generators were with the Prime Minister, the Chancellor and the Energy Secretary yesterday. But importantly, we've already started a cost of living support package that's already gone out to over 7 million households. Many more millions of people will be helped in the next few weeks. But nevertheless, I'm very conscious of the likely increase that Ofgem is signalling, but they will not give us those figures until the end of this month. And it's right that any future Prime Minister looks at the options that are being worked up, the different levers that government can pull in order to help people with the cost of living challenges that we have.
I'm sorry to correct you, but we haven't got a windfall tax on the energy companies. We've got it on the fuel suppliers, BP and Shell and others pumping oil and gas, but not the electricity suppliers. Nadeem Zahawi was indicating that he perhaps wasn't comfortable with the profits they were making. Centrica, 1.6 billion operating profit in the first 6 months of this year. I'll ask you again, why doesn't Liz Truss want a windfall tax on them?
Well, as I say, there's already a windfall tax on energy companies already. But what I am
not the electricity companies.
I know that Liz is not keen to have more windfall taxes. Instead, what she's looking for is to make sure that we put more money back in the pockets of people. That's by removing things like the national insurance increase, but also about more generally that the first principle of a Conservative government should be looking to reduce taxes on households rather than raising them, and the same for corporations. But nevertheless, I think it's important to say that there's already a package of support that is going to households, particularly focused on the lowest income and pensioners and people with disabilities. But understandably, there's the opportunity to consider more of support. But indeed, that's just one of various levers that could be pulled by future Prime Minister, and the people in government, people like me and our civil servants, are working on potential options right now, and they will need to be considered rather than on the hoof, but in a considered way, and that's why we are developing proposals that could be there. But I think importantly, what Liz is really looking for, and actually the big news of the day, dare I say it, is really about the economy shrinking rather than growing. And it's absolutely critical to our future prosperity of our country, of households, of companies, that we have a growing economy. And that's why Liz's proposals for more bold economic reforms to focus in particular on getting growth, unlocking investment, unlocking potential, instead of putting taxes up, actually to bring taxes down so that we can unlock the future investment that's needed and put money, as I say, instead of creating loads of schemes in order to give money back to people or to companies, actually for them to keep more of the money that they earn in the first place.
That's more important than people paying their electricity bills, is it?
You're giving me a false question there. It's important that we have more money in the pockets of in people's pockets. That's why she wants to have an emergency budget, remove things like the national insurance increase that is hitting many working families, but also about things like removing temporarily the energy levies, which is about £150–160 on the cost of energy bills right now. And indeed, as she's said consistently, she wants to look at the options on how to help households. And it's important that we will do that, but we do that in a considered way. People in government are working up options, and those decisions will be, and options will be put forward to the future Prime Minister.
Ms Coffey, people who do have money in their pockets are these energy companies. Centrica, who own British Gas, £1.6 billion operating profit in 6 months, we just heard from Mark there. BP reporting its biggest quarterly profit in 14 years, £6.9 billion. Shell, another record profit, £9 billion. Meanwhile, in Cheltenham last night, Liz Truss saying doesn't support the windfall tax. It's a Labour idea. She said profit isn't a dirty word. Now, that probably is a dirty word for people who can't afford their heating. We've got viewers who are emailing in today saying that they're buying thermal clothing to prepare for winter because they know they won't be able to pay their bills. Liz Truss saying that their profits isn't a bad thing. How do you respond to that?
Well, I think every household likes to have more money than they spend. I mean, at the end of the day, a profit is a surplus. Do you have more money coming in than you spend out? And every household has that kitchen table budget themselves. And that's understandably why people are concerned about some of these energy price increases, which are not necessarily within their control. Indeed, that's part of the challenge that we continue to face, and it's why government has taken action and is preparing options for a new Prime Minister to do. But overall, we need to get the economy growing. We need to be putting more money, allowing them to keep more of their own money. So by removing the national insurance increases, by not putting up corporation taxes, we unlock that opportunity. And indeed, there's lots of regulations out there where we could be acting more quickly, more rigorously, to allow long-term investment in our infrastructure in order to support things like the changes in energy supply that we need, instead of being over-reliant on gas, which is triggered by world prices, which is then triggers aspects of the electricity prices paid. So there's a combination there of making sure we have that long-term infrastructure. But we're not going to do that if we just keep raising taxes, just keep spending more, and instead allow our corporations to really to get on, to grow, and that will feed through as well into not only reducing taxes for people in working households, but also making sure that we continue to get people's opportunities unlocked with higher paid jobs. And that's all part of a focus that we need to take, rather than resign ourselves to managing decline. That's not Liz's approach. She wants to see the growth, she wants to see reduction in taxes, and that is certainly, I think, the sound Conservative principles, of course recognising the challenges of the day, and that's why options are being considered to build on potentially the support package that we have, but also other levers can be drawn to get more money into the pockets of people straight away through an emergency budget.
Thérèse Coffey, we don't have much longer with you. I just wanted to quickly ask you about the Bank of England, obviously warning both Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss not to interfere with city regulation. Liz Truss is obviously backing new powers to override city regulators, but these people are experts, aren't they?
Well, I'm conscious that the Financial Services Bill may well include a potential for ministers, for governments to be able to take decisions that they consider in the best interest of the country. People elect politicians. And I'm conscious also Ofgem right now were the people who've introduced these quarterly changes. And that's why we're seeing so quickly concerns about increasing price rises that households may be enduring. Indeed. So I think it's important that, if Parliament decides that that's a power that government can have, then Parliament, the elected body of this country, should be respected.